Good evening. Good evening. My name is Shamika Charmaine, and thank you so very much for the time that you have taken to spend with me this evening. And we're going to jump right into it, right? This is for my churches that are beginners that are seeking funding, right? You're wanting to further the mission, you want grant funding. However, you want to consider these 7 steps, right, that most churches forget or that they do not consider. And this is before you reach out to a grant writer, before you spend the money for the grant writer. These are 7 steps that we want you to consider and take. And I'm going to share my screen here. Okay. Now that I'm able to share my screen, now I'm going to cut my camera back on, and here we go. Now we're going to jump right into it. Feel free to take screenshots. You can save any of this information because if you're watching me, you're already a pastor, you're already a ministry leader, so you're working at church. Me reading these slides word for word is definitely not going to serve you any justice, but I am going to pull out a few critical pieces and also take deeper dives with a few examples on this evening, right? Because the roadmap is very simple. I'm not going to be before you long. These 7 steps are going to definitely help. However, individuals who know how to break down very complex situations into very simple steps, that's where the brilliancy lies. That is, I may have just made that word up, y'all, but that's where the secret sauce is. We're going to jump right into it. Now, that grant writer, it takes an honest look at your foundation, right? Grant writers help tell your story, but they do not create your system. So they do not they're not able to create your financial records. Okay, so you want to have that, your program data, your organizational structure, all of that information that the funders want to see. You want to have that in a centralized location. Also, we're going to help you with these 7 steps so that you're able to repeat that over and over again yourself without your grant writer. Keep your grant writer for your bigger grants. Get that structure and then now save that application, tweak that because about 90% of those questions for each application, they're the same. Right. So because of that, you're able to save that information, make the necessary changes to apply for those other awards, okay? But the 7 steps to your grant readiness, number one is making sure that you are structured for your funding, right? Understanding if you need your 501c3 status, if you have that, some organizational structures, because your churches, there's some grants that you can apply for, but as a nonprofit or with that 501c3 status, it opens up your ability for funding to more avenues, right? So you'll want to have that in place or all of your structure, right? Finances, whatever that is, you need to have it so that you're able to readily apply and show documentation. Now, number two, we're going to spend a lot of time on that. Well, not a lot of time, but this is where a lot of individuals actually aren't ready for funding because they have an idea or an event. It's not actually a program. An event is something one time. A program is going to be something with an ongoing commitment. You have milestones and measurable outcomes. You understand who you serve, the outcome, and I'm going to also give you a really good formula to help as well. Okay. But that's where we're going to spend a lot of the time because once you have that foundation, then that helps to ensure that the grant writer can actually write a grant. It's hard to fund, or they're not able to fund an event, only a program. Then understanding the alignment, niche, and explanation, right? So knowing who, the type of grant that you're applying for, understanding their vision, and making sure that what you provide to the community, what you provide to your local area, what you provide to the world at hand aligns to their mission. And that also opens up work, opens up the ability for funding. Okay. Then being able to explain and properly explain what it is that you do, who you impact, the impact on the community and the society as a whole if you do not implement this particular service or whatever you're providing, right? What is the impact if you do not provide this in the community? What is the impact to my society? What is the impact to the overall community if I do not provide this service and or program, right? Being able to properly explain that, having your data, as well as helping curate those stories and having your data from what you've already done, that's going to help your grant writer. Now, number 4, a numbers game, right? We kind of talked about that a little bit at the beginning. You're wanting to apply to one a day. You have your grant writer that you most likely are going to have to pay for, right? It's not free. So understanding that if you're already seeking funding, it is because, of course, you want greater impact. You may not have those resources to pay for a grant writer to write one a day. So pay for the larger grant, get the foundation, get the structure, and then make the adjustments that you need to curate for each application. When you apply for one a day, then that's going to help you understand the funder's language. It's going to help you also understand your answers and you're going to be able to save your answers, build a file for those answers. And now as you start applying, you see, oh, okay, I can take this, a little bit of this question with a little bit of this question. Those answers that I already have, I can kind of make some changes to those. And now I have an answer to a new question, right? So now your application process is not going to be as cumbersome because you have about 90% of your information already before you. You have all of your documents stored and saved. You have your master template folder. Look, I'm going right into number 5. You have your master template folder. You have a lot of your answers already curated there as well from previous applications. And now you're not rushed. Now you're able to really understand the questions and making sure that you're answering the questions to the best of your ability. Now you're focused. And the more you apply, of course, the more chances you are of winning those awards, right? Then also, while you are still creating impact, do not wait to get the funding before you move forward in your community. And most of you already aren't, right? You're already doing the work. Now we're just putting the words to it, right? And for those that are starting out, make sure that now you have this strong, firm foundation and that you're documenting your impact from conception. And we go into a little deeper dive as to what that looks like as well. And then sustainability. Although you have the structure, you know how to demonstrate and speak to the structure, right? You have all of your documents together. You're applying one by one. However, you want to also make sure that you have sustainability beyond this award. What are you currently doing? The amount of impact that you currently have in your society, in your community, and then how are you going to maintain this impact? How are you going to maintain your program if you don't get the funding? Does your organization have any streams of revenue? What does that look like? What is the forecast, right? What are your plans for additional streams of revenue coming in? Any additional awards and avenues that you can obtain funding? I want to know, how can you live beyond that? Beyond this, how are you going to sustain? We really don't want to give you all of this money to do your program and it lasts 6 months and then that's it, right? So they want to see that not only you have a really great idea, you have a really great program, but your program can really or they can attribute to helping your program have major impact and sustainability in your community, in society, and then also brand awareness for them as well, right? So now that's going to lead us directly into our structure. Now, those are the 7 steps, right? We did not make that overcomplicated. And I'm going to scroll back so that if you are watching, you're able to take this screenshot right here of those 7 steps and keep that there, your structure, understanding the event versus a program, right? Understanding the alignment, niche, and explaining what it is you do, applying every single day, 1 grant a day, right? It's a numbers game. Keeping that master template folder, documenting your existing impact because you are not waiting on the award. You're already doing the work. You're already impacting your community and society. So you want to ensure that you are documenting that, as well as not only those that you're serving, but also the impact that you're having on the community, and then the greater impact you could have with their funding, right? And the amount of impact that you have if you do not get the funding. That's where the grant writer is going to come in and help with that as well. And then your sustainability, making sure that you can sustain, you have ways of moving your program without this award. Now, when we think about structure, you want to make sure that you have access to your documents. I know this sounds odd, but when I say that this is for beginners, you cannot believe the amount of administrators or ministry leads that have to work with, of course, other entities to obtain this information. So it's really great to know what you will need, the different groups within your organization that you need to work with in order to obtain this, so that you start working with it. The less distractions, the less frustration, the better, right? You do not want to get have more and more things to overwhelm you. So the more you have together, the more you can help your grant writer, the more access you have to funding. All right, so your structure, understanding legal, your review your board, understanding where your financial records are, okay, and that they are up to date, clean records, and then you have the most current records as well. And if you do not, start obtaining those, because most likely they're going to ask. You'd rather already have everything up front that you need versus going through the laundry list or the checklist and then thinking, oh, I can't get all of this by the submission date or the deadline. Now, this is where we're going to spend a little bit more time here, understanding the difference between event versus programs. Because when we talk about churches, right, sometimes we have things or we even have ideas that aren't programs. Programs are going to be continuous. Okay, they're also going to have measurable transformations. We're going to be able to demonstrate ongoing commitments. Okay, and we're not going to overcomplicate these things. I'm going to show you really quickly how to implement and change some of the uh, events that your church may be having into an actual program. So I'm going to stop sharing. And pull up this document because in the class earlier, they dropped some questions and we walked through that. All right. So, for example, something like Bible study, right? Tomorrow is Wednesday night, today is Tuesday. Some people had Bible study tonight. So for something like a Bible study, oftentimes we think we can't get funding for that, but you actually can when you write that as a program and you cater the Bible study now as a program, because we are focused on adults experiencing isolation, right? We're bringing people together, need for connection. Now we're moving from just Bible study to adult community support and an educational program, okay? If we have access to financial literacy tools, employment, parenting skills and things of that nature, tutoring for their children. And now that we have access to those additional resources, now we are creating an adult community support system, telehealth resources, where we're not the physician, but we are having, we're providing access to real life doctors and physicians that they're able to talk to if need be. So just having them connected to those community resources. Now you've gone to from just Bible study, and these are things that you are already doing, things that you already have access to. But now that the ways that we're writing these things and now are going to follow up, provide additional measurable steps with those Bible studies because it's weekly, right? Now it is an adult community support and education program. Vacation Bible School is this summer, right? School just let out in a lot of areas. So if you're focused on an elementary or middle school kids, right? That can be the focus. And then summer learning loss. Now you've gone from Vacation Bible School to a summer youth enrichment initiative. If you do things like if you're feeding, right? So that is agriculture, also anything in regards to food insecurity, also healthy eating and nutrition. You can offer financial literacy courses not only for the youth, but for their parents, parenting courses and skills and classes. Now we're not only focusing on just the vacation Bible study of also offering the gospel of Christ and teaching the gospel of Christ, which of course is primary and always great. But now we are also looking at all of the other resources and services that we provide at our church that we're now incorporating in our Vacation Bible School. And when we write our funding, we're now able to get funding for our Summer Youth Enrichment Initiative. If you have a back to school program, right? So now you're giving school supplies at the end and providing them with resources to go to school, tutoring. Now we're going to follow up with them around Christmas time, assess their needs again, have some form of feedback, check in, additional resources for school. And then now you have a program because you check in, you have measurable steps, outcomes, feedback. It's no longer just an event. You're now taking that event and making it into a program and having ongoing support and impact, right? Um, your pastor, your pastor does a lot already, right? And if you're thinking about, let's say, counseling, that's families in crisis, limited access to support, that is community care and crisis response services. Even connecting them to services outside of the counseling that they're not able to provide any ancillary resources or connections that they provide them with. That is helping to provide that communal crisis response services. Marriage ministry, that's couples in relationship instability. Instead of just saying marriage ministry, that's a family strengthening and healthy relationship program. Youth ministry, focusing on adolescents, the need for mentorship. That's a positive youth development and leadership program, right? So Matthew Let's Go back 1980. Y'all know the gentleman used to get on the infomercials late night, had the crazy weird glasses, the suits with the exclamation mark or the question mark all over them. He's is still around, still providing information. The database and the resources are real. It makes sense. It's been around for ages, right? That database, that link, that information is going to be linked down below. But he had a useful, or still does, has a useful formula that I've been using forever from back in 1980. Okay. And it is the activity, the church or population served, community need, measurable outcome. That is your grant language, okay? So that's the church activity, whatever that activity was, right? Plus the population that serves, understanding your community need, plus a measurable outcome that equals grant language, okay? So that is something that your grant writer is not going to be able to specifically help you with. That's something that you want to do internally at your church. When you start thinking about your programs, this is the culture that you even want to start teaching within your leadership, within your auxiliaries, so that you already have a foundation that will help you get the funding that you need. All right. So of the 7 steps, that right there is the majority. That's the bulk of what you need to work on. And now you have that already fixed. You also have a link that you're able to click down if you need additional resources or additional help thereafter. There's support for you to do so, right? I'm going to share my screen and get to the last 2 steps, and I'm going to wrap that up. And thank you. Take all the screenshots that you need. Feel free to also make any notes that you may need, or drop them in the chat. And while we're going over some while we're going over Q&A at the end, I will go by those one by one. All right, but now that I'm sharing my screen and we are heading now to our Align and Niche and Explain, we kind of went into this, great detail before, because you are applying once a day, getting access to that database where the grants are, that opens you up to a plethora, a waterfall, a full database of grants, and you're able to apply once a day for those that meet your needs. And we've already gone over that, excuse me, on how to, handle that, as well as the numbers game. Now, one thing with the numbers game that I did not say in the resources that are below, we have things like your grant tracker, and these things are free, right? We're not charging for something that you can Google and find yourself. It's a grant tracker. That way you're keeping everything in line, in order. You're knowing the grants that you have applied for, the date that they are awarded. And not only that, but you're able to track your growth. You're actually able to see what you've done. Don't allow that sheet to get you discouraged and see like how many you have actually applied for that you did not receive. Look at how many you have applied for that you did receive, or how many you have applied for that you learned something from, right? Obtain the feedback that some may provide, because that's going to help you when you apply again. Okay. So having that information in a very organized format only helps you. We've gone over your master template folder, and understanding those narratives, having that central filing system. Even some individuals save those documents even on an external hard drive as well, to have a duplicate copy just in case something happens, so that you can always go back, right? Because as you apply, that file source is going to get larger and larger for your updated narratives, which means you're saving the answers to your questions. Because remember, you are working smarter, not harder. You are going to be your own personal AI, wherein you have your own answers to your questions, and you're able to reformat those and repurpose them to suit the need of the application that you are applying for. Okay. Ways to document your impact. If you are not currently documenting that, you'll want to document your participation, any service stats. Also obtain regular data reviews. So send out feedback concerning those that attended, and things like that. So those are things that your grant writer, they're not able to do at that time because you've already had the event. So ensure that you have that information built into, or those trackers built into your program, so that you know that you're going to obtain the information that you're going to need, and then you can use that later on. And sustainability, I mean, hey, we've talked about that, making sure that your program sustains, making sure that you have access to additional grants, additional funding. We have a link down in that chat for you as well, so that you have direct access to funders yourself, direct access to database yourself, I'm definitely not saying not to pay for. There's a host of other things out here that you can pay for. Not saying not to get a grant writer. I'm just saying before you do, make sure that you have these things covered. This is your foundation. Also, ensure that you have access to your own database. It will not hurt you to apply, especially to those that are free. What is the worst that could happen, right? The worst that could happen is that you learn. And life is the better because we learn, right? I am the better because I even learned from some of your questions that you dropped on tonight. Also, thank you for your time on tonight. Those 7 questions, I'm going to go right back here to the 7 steps that you need to consider before you hire your grant writer. Click the link down below if you need additional help and or if you're wanting to write your own grants, right? And you're ready to move forward. You may want a grant, want to be certified in some areas. Also, if you need help with searching for grants, there's some information down below as well for you. I'm going to go back to the 7 steps so you can take that final screenshot there. And if you have any questions, feel free to leave a comment or reach out. Our direct number is 800-746-0857, or you can visit me at theshamikacharmaine.com. That is SHARMAINE.com, or drop a comment down below. I thank you so very much. And meanwhile, remember, you were called to serve, not to struggle. And we are looking so forward to helping you in any way possible.